Do you belong to a social workplace like mine? You have a baby, your colleagues come to visit. You're sick, your colleagues come to visit. Or do you belong to a church that has seen you grow? Maybe you were a youth, then you wedded in that same church, and then you have children in that church. People have seen you, people know you, you interact as Mr. and Mrs. You have an identity that people relate to you with at your workplace and in other social environments like the church, or your charmers, or at school. School, people know you as Mr. and Mrs. So and so. You have attended school activities together, and then all of a sudden, the marriage ends and you're single. What do you do? How do you reintroduce yourself? I know, difficult, but that brings me to my topic today. It's a divorce care series, and I'm calling it Simplifying Transitions. And this video today is called Rebuilding Identity. My name is Grace, and welcome to Conversations with Grace. So how do you rebuild your identity? How do you rebrand yourself? When a marriage ends, it's not only the relationship that ends, but also your identity changes, okay? I want to share with you an experience that I had immediately after my separation. When I first separated, I shared it with a colleague of mine who was a senior colleague who has been married for so many years and has seen so much happen around him. And this is the advice he gave me. He told me a story of a lady who, when her marriage ended, she couldn't come to terms with telling her colleagues that this has happened. She couldn't come to terms with breaking that news to them. Granted, she also probably needed space and time to absorb and adjust and then know how to relay the message. But this is what happened to her. Her company would pick and drop its employees to and from work every day. So what she did is, when her marriage ended, she moved to a different location that was actually far and totally opposite of where she had been staying before. But she couldn't tell her company, and she couldn't tell her colleagues and the driver or anyone that she has moved houses. So in the morning she would wake up, she had to wake up extra early to come to the pickup location where she's picked every day. And she would be picked from there, and then in the evening she would allow them to drop her at that same place, and then she would take a different transport and get back to her place where she currently resides. And my colleague told me, Grace, don't be like that woman. Don't be scared to share your new identity. Don't be stuck up in your previous identity so much so that you're afraid to come out with your new identity. So many people may be shocked, so many people may be surprised. But for you, you're going to have to leave the torture and punishment of clinging on to the previous identity. And in hindsight, I really appreciate that advice that I got from my colleague. And that is how I started breaking the news slowly. I didn't hold a press conference, of course, but I just told people individually at, when we were having a tete-a-tete or one-on-one conversations, and I told people. And I also, at church, I did the same, just talking to individual people, one-on-one, the people I was most comfortable with sharing that information with before and then of course news will also spread, so some people will help share the news, not even in a bad way. And it's more difficult, I know, if you have children. Sometimes it's even difficult to break that identity in school, because people react differently and people have different attitudes towards separation and divorce, and some of their attitudes and their viewpoints will rub off on you, some positively, some negatively. And therefore, even as you break the news, you need to be psychologically prepared to accept that not everybody will be as welcoming and as accommodating to your new identity. So my first point is acknowledge the loss. You did not only lose a relationship, you have also lost your identity as a couple that you previously held. There's also the shift of Mrs. to Mrs. So-and-so to I don't know. Okay, so it actually also took me some time to handle the way people would, people would reference you as Mrs. So and so, and all of a sudden you're no longer Mrs. So and so, and people are stuck. So one of the things that you also need to do is, when you're thinking through change your identity, also think through how best you'd like to introduce yourself. So just tell, when you meet somebody and you see that there's a struggle on how to address you, just tell them, just call me so and so. So it is very, very crucial that you grieve the loss of your previous identity and come to terms with your new identity. So it's two-faced. Number one, it is the mental shift, and number two, the physical shift. The mental shift is the shift in your mind of the loss of your title as a Mrs. or wife, but the second is the actual name that you'd like to be called, and then you need to grieve that loss. Number two, reconnect with your pre-marriage self. It is very important to sit down and look back at the person you were before you got married, the interests you had, the desires that you had, the skills that you had before that you were not able to employ and that you were not able to explore. When you realize that there was so much potential and there is still so much space to pursue some of those, okay? And this is not only for divorce. This kind of reimagining your interests is something that so many people grapple with. Even women who give birth at an earlier age sometimes have had to shelve their interests. So don't look at it as a punishment. Just look at it as a phase of life. People are constantly reimagining and re-exploring who they are and who they can be depending on the situation that they are in, okay? People who, I am in the education sector, okay? Some people have had to leave their families and their children and go abroad. Even those kind of people, they have had to make shifts and changes to what they initially, when you get married, you don't imagine spending so many years away from your family sometimes, and you're out of scholarship. But people make those changes in those rooms, okay? So look at it positively and rediscover some of those interests that you can pursue and pursue them. Point number three, identify the changes and growth that you have gone through and maximize on your strengths. Everybody has learned something from their experiences. Everybody has gained a different kind of strength, some insights, some skills, some experience. Through your lived experience, there is something that you have learned in one way or another. It's very important that you focus on the growth that you have achieved and the room for growth that is available. Okay, I'll give you an example of myself. Through my work experience, I have discovered that I'm leaning more towards qualitative research, and therefore I have gone for training and learned more on how to do qualitative research, how to analyze qualitative data, how to carry out qualitative research. That is an area of growth that I have seen and I have pursued after the end of my marriage. And this is not just limited to your growth in terms of your work or the work that you do. It could be business, okay? When after the end of my marriage, I pursued my business more. I put so much focus on it, and I grew and I learned so many skills and I learned so many things in the process of running a business. You learn bookkeeping, you learn financial management, you learn so many things relating with customer management, customer relationship, and that was an area of growth that I've seen. And therefore, if I'm to pursue and start a business or run a business, I would know some things that worked and some things that didn't work. I would know even how to handle clients. I would even know how to handle organizations, okay? You know, the legal aspects of the business, etc. That is an area of growth that I'm looking at positively. I have also seen an improvement in my music skills. Okay, I have led in singing, and I have discovered that there's still room for growth and improvement in understanding and learning the science of music. Okay, so that is an area of growth that I am still pursuing. I also have a background in French. I have some basics in French language, the spoken and the written, and I would still want to pursue more. That is an area, it's just time that I don't have. I mean, right now, I'm also interested in pursuing a course on mediation so that I can be an accredited mediator for the judiciary of Kenya, okay? So that I can help so many people, in the uglies of divorce and separation and, the child wars, custody wars, reach agreements and mediate some of their fights out of court. Okay, so that is an area of growth that I am also willing to pursue. I am passionate about climate change and women's adaptation and to climate change. I am passionate about gender-based violence. I am passionate about water, health, and sanitation available for the youth. I am passionate about youth empowerment. These are all areas of growth that I am able and willing to pursue at different levels based on the opportunities that are available for me. So these are all areas of growth that I'm looking at positively. If you sit down and look deep, you will realize that there is so much room for growth to pursue, for growth and personal development that you can pursue, that will help you rebuild your identity, or that will help you to build a new identity. That brings me to my fourth point, and it's also closely related to the point that I've just said. Identify your interests and your hobbies. All right? Your interests and your hobbies are not just time wasters. Your interests and your hobbies can actually earn you income. When you sit down and think about the skills that you've had before, your talents, okay? There are some things that come to people naturally. Some people are good musicians. Some people have an artistic eye. One of my friends is building on her interior design skills, and she's coming up really well. And that was just a talent that she had. She is engaging in tours and travel as well. It's a passion and an interest and a hobby that she had before, and she's building it, and she's now cashing it and making an income out of it. So when you look at your interests and your hobbies, they're not just to occupy your mind so that you don't think about the divorce process too much. No, it will actually soften you. It will actually shift your focus out of the mess, out of the fights, away from the the hurt and the trauma. It also helps you in rechanneling your energy and refocusing your energy towards healing and restoration, rather than focusing on the fights. So when you're sleeping at night and you're thinking about how so-and-so is insulting you, or how so-and-so is handling the children, how co-parenting is difficult, when you focus on your interests and your hobbies, it calms your mind down, because you're in a space where your energy is not negative. It always puts you in a space where you exude positive energy, and you exude also the feel-good hormones and positive hormones, okay, dopamine, and it also helps you sleep better at night, and it also helps you to focus easier and better on the things that needs to be focused on. So hobbies and interests is a great way to help you rebuild your identity. Point number 5, once you have revisited your interests and your hobbies, it's now time to set your new goals and vision for the future. The reason why it's important to set new goals and a new vision is because you're no longer working in your previous goals and vision, okay? Your previous goals and visions were tied to your identity as a couple, and your dealings and your workings as two people. But right now you're going to do things probably on your own. Some people are supporting their parents. Some people have siblings that they have been supporting. You cannot stop doing this. Life does not stop because your marriage ended. So you have to now set new goals and new visions. Write the vision down, and this is also a biblical thing. It's not only biblical, but it's scientific, okay? The Bible tells us in the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 2, write the vision down, okay? Write the vision down. It is so powerful. Even scientists will tell you writing a goal or a vision down is powerful in itself. Once you write it down, look at what you have and what you can do with what you have right now to achieve that vision. When you're writing your vision down, don't look at the constraints that are around you or surrounding you at the moment. Ask yourself, what can I be if money or finances was not a hindrance? What could I be if this negativity or these negative people were not holding me back? That person that you could be, that is the person you need to write down, not the limited version. Once you put a limitation to who you can be, you become your number one enemy. So write your vision down, set clear goals, have short-term goals. If you're not in the mental space where you can write long-term goals, just look at what you have today and move from there. Number 6, build a new support system. This could mean rebuilding with your previous associates or friends. It could also mean joining new social networks. It could be a chama, it could be a book club, it could be fitness enthusiasts, it could be anything. Build new networks, okay? Lastly, embrace the journey, not just the destination. Embrace the entire journey, okay? And when I say embrace the journey, I am not discrediting the struggle. I am not discrediting the grief or the depression, that could come your way. I'm not discrediting the resistance or the rejection that you may encounter in your process. By embracing the journey, I am saying, don't only wait to be happy when you get to a certain place. Don't look at the destination and say, I cannot be happy before I get to this destination. I cannot be happy before I achieve this kind of vision. No. Let me give you an example. Assuming you have a difficult co-parenting, you have court cases to battle, family or friends have rejected you because of your new status. Every single day when you wake up, be ready for both the negative and the positive. Let me give you an example. Assuming that you have a difficult co-parenting and you do not know whether your spouse is going to come and pick the kids or not, or they're going to pick their call or not, or they're going to live up to their promise or not. You wake up and make a decision how you're going to feel before it actually happens. So if my spouse comes and picks the kids, well and good. If they don't come and pick the kids, this is what I'm going to do. So be prepared for both the positive and the negative. Even when it comes with regards to court cases, the court can rule in your favor or not. Be open to receiving both the positive and the negative news, and decide what you will do if the news is positive or if the news is negative. In that way, your mind is set up for success. Your mind is set up for resilience. I know what I'm saying sounds theoretical, and it's not going to be rosy all through. Sometimes you may have to shed a few tears, and sometimes you'll have to take a day or two off, but embrace the journey. Overall, what I'm saying is remain positive, not just for your children or the people around you, but mostly even for you. So many people's success are also tied to your success. That is something you need to know. As I finish off, I just want to give you an example of Faith Kipyegon. Faith recently won gold for Kenya in the recently concluded Olympics. You can see that such a person is flying high, but her success is not only her success. Her success is the success of our country. Kenya depended on so many of our athletes to fly our flag as a sports excelling country. And that is what I mean by your success is not only your success. Your success is so many other people's success, and it's not only you or your family that is going to benefit from your success. It could be your neighbors or your friends. Your community depends on your success. Your community depends on you to rebuild your identity. Your community depends on you. Your country needs you. The world needs you. Who is going to help girls who are dropping out of school get back to school? Who is going to implement economic empowerment programs in the disadvantaged communities? Who is going to invent new ways of farming and agriculture? Who is going to explore the IT space and come up with new and innovative solutions for our everyday problems? It could be you, but you need to rebuild your identity and get back on track and become the person that you are designed to be, the person that God made you to be. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next week in our next episode. Bye.